So this has been a pretty odd day for me. I just finished editing my review of The Giver, which is exporting right now and will soon be up on YouTube. I'm about to film my review of Gathering Blue, the next book in that series. And late last night, early this morning, I finished reading and typed up my review of Messenger, which is the last book in the series. So I'm being inundated with all three of the books at once. I guess April's got me spread pretty thin. As I said before the intro, today's book review is on Gathering Blue by Lois Lowry, the companion novel to The Giver. With Gathering Blue, I think that Lois Lowry was deliberately trying to create a village that was as unlike the village in Giver as possible. First, you have the standard of living in the two villages. With The Giver, as I said in the previous review, the standard of living is pretty high, and we see evidence that technology and culture have taken several strides forward in this village, as is the case in many dystopian novels. The society in Gathering Blue, on the other hand, takes a huge step backwards. It's much more primitive and much more barbaric than any dystopian society you're likely to find. To the point where you might actually be hard-pressed to call it a dystopian society, because calling something a dystopian society implies that it looks like a utopian society. And with Gathering Blue, there's no doubt in anyone's mind, the reader, the protagonist, even the people of the village, there is no doubt in anyone's mind that life sucks. One of the things that distinguished the society in The Giver was a strong sense of being a part of the community, to help the community thrive. And there's kind of a sense of community in Gathering Blue as well, but it's a very different kind of community. It's very much a community of survivalists. It's not so much, I'm going to contribute to this society so that we can survive, it's, I'm going to contribute to this society so that I can survive. Ultimately, everyone in this society is taught from a very young age to look out for number one. Enter Kira. Kira was born a cripple. Under ordinary circumstances, such a child would have been taken away at birth and basically left to die in the wilderness. But Kira's mother protected her from harm, and so Kira was allowed to grow up in the village despite this deformity. And Kira has proven herself to be a valuable member of the community. She can't walk, but she is a very talented weaver. Her talent at weaving has been brought to the attention of the Council of Guardians, and they have given her a very important job. More on that later. The second thing that distinguishes this society from the society in The Giver is the regard for history. The people in The Giver had no regard for history, because they couldn't remember any history. But the society of Gathering Blue has a very, very high regard for history. Maybe not necessarily their own history, but the history of the world. Every year there is a gathering. Everyone in the village comes to this one building that is still standing, and they spend the day listening to the person who has been appointed as the singer sing the song that tells of the entire history of the world. And when I say spend the day, I'm not exaggerating. It actually takes an entire day for the singer to sing this song. In addition to the song, there are also two artifacts that depict this long world history. First, you've got the singer's staff, which has carved into it all of the scenes that are in the song. The other artifact is the singer's robe, which he wears every year when he's singing the song. And into this robe is woven, as you might expect, all of the scenes that are in the song. And as you also might have guessed, this is the job that the Council of Guardians have given to Kira. It is her task to repair and restore the robe to its former beauty. Now, I said before that the villagers had a high regard for history, and they do have a great deal of respect for the gathering and for the song. More respect for this, in fact, than they have for anything else. But when it comes right down to it, they have about as much regard for history as the people of The Giver do, who have no history to regard. See, here's the thing. The song sends a pretty clear message. It tells about the cycle of prosperity and warfare and destruction. Basically a message of peace good, war bad. And yet for all that, the people of this village are pretty damn warlike. So they have great respect for the song and great respect for the history, but they don't get it. And finally, the third distinguishing factor between The Giver and Gathering Blue: color. One of the major aspects of the society in The Giver is that there was no color. Nobody could see color. But the society of Gathering Blue has plenty of color. The robe that Kira is working on has all these vibrant reds and oranges and yellows and greens, and there's a color missing though. Can you guess what it might be? Kira is able to make all of these vibrant reds and oranges and yellows and greens that she has to put in the robe, but she can't make blue. Because the plant that is required to make blue doesn't grow anywhere near the village. It grows quite a ways off. So the village has an abundance of angry, passionate reds and oranges, but none of the calm, soothing blue. So the village of Gathering Blue is very, very colorful, maybe a little bit too colorful, and with most of the wrong colors. And so the title of the book, Gathering Blue, takes on a double meaning in that way. But for all the differences between The Giver and The Gathering Blue, there is one important similarity. In The Giver, nobody had the capacity to love. They just couldn't. They couldn't feel that emotion because it had been removed from them. In Gathering Blue, they do have the capacity to love, they just don't. They live in such poverty-stricken circumstances, and the survivalist attitude has been so ingrained into them that they have just as much of an incapacity to love as the people of The Giver do. Which is a theme that is going to carry over to the third book in the series, Messenger, so I'll be talking more about that in the next book review. By contrasting this society so heavily with the society of The Giver, Lois Lowry is showing us that even if you have these two extremes, you still have the same problems. And Kira comes to the same conclusion in the end as Jonas. So I regard Gathering Blue every bit as highly as I regard The Giver, and it remains on the favorites list. And the last book in this series and the next book on the favorites list connects those two stories. Messenger by Lois Lowry. And seeing as how I've already finished reading this book and writing the review, then that review shouldn't be too long in coming, so stay tuned. See you later.